Good afternoon, this is the new project Parliamentarians and your friend Alexei Shemyakin. Every Tuesday in this studio, together with the deputies of the Arkhangelsk Regional Assembly, we will discuss current topics, together look for ways out of this or that situation. The question that will be discussed today periodically appears on the agenda for the last 15 years. We are talking about the creation of another reserve in Arkhangelsk region, Dvinsko-Pinezhsky. There are many supporters of this and not less opponents. I propose to look at the plot now, after which I will introduce our guest.
The Dvinsko-Pinezhsky State Landscape Reserve of regional significance are going to be created on the interstream area between the northern Dvina and Piniga River. Where to put its borders, this discussion has been holding since 2001. It was the Russian Regional Office of Greenpeace who suggested the idea of creating this protected area. It was planned that its territory would be about 500,000 hectares and that it would include 4 districts: the Vinogradovsky, Verkhnitoemsky, Pinezhsky and Holmogorsky districts. But the heads of these districts are against the forest conservation because there are timber-cutting enterprises that are working on this territory. They are giving working places for locals, refilling the regional budget with the return of duties and supporting the social sphere. But the ecologists don't see any risks that would be damaging for the district's economy and say that Dvinsko-Pinezhsky Reserve is the only place where the old-growth forests are kept. Moreover, there are some unique plants and a great variety of wild animals. All these natural wealth should be preserved. In the year of ecology, the discussion of this problem moved to a new level. It suggested that the territory of the planned reserve should be cut to 350,000 hectares. So new borders should be put now. But to do that, the opinion of the district's heads should be taken in account.
So the question is, what are the perspectives for solving the problem of creating the Dvina-Pinezhsky Reserve? Let's talk about this today with the deputy of the Arkhangelsk Regional Meeting, the chairman of the Committee for Nature Management and Timber Committee, Alexander Dyatlov. Alexander Vladimirovich, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So tell me briefly, are you for creating the reserve or against, and why?
I am for. We in general always told that at all the platforms that were held in Arkhangelsk region, as we discussed, in general this idea was invented with the creation of the reserve. And as I said, yes, we are for the creation of the reserve. We had the issue, which is in what borders it should be created.
Are you for the creating of the reserve only because you are heading the profile committee and a kind of connecting link between people and the power?
Certainly, just because I believe that our nature needs to be protected, of course. And we are purposefully engaged in Arkhangelsk region. We have about 11 million hectares of reserves. The national park, 4 national parks have been created here, 33 reserves, 66 monuments of nature. That's why we are systematically engaged. Just recently, Ust-Yugietsky Reserve has been created.
Many experts have expressed such a theory, which is called, if you can say the Dvina-Pinezhsky Reserve is death for the villages of 4 districts of Arkhangelsk region. We are talking about Kolmogorsky, Pinezhsky, Vinogradovsky and Verkhnitoemsky areas. In your opinion, why do they have such an opinion?
The heads of these municipalities addressed to us, as well as the deputies of these municipalities, asked us to create reserves in the areas in which it is supposed to be. A borders of 500,000 hectares was supposed to be created. Of course, this would entail the closing of enterprises, which are often the workplaces of these municipalities. People will be left without work. Timber industry enterprises. Social tension will appear in these regions. And tension will appear in this region because we will not receive incomes through the regional budget either.
I propose to listen to the opinion of the heads of these 4 regions, after which we will continue our conversation.
Natalia Vyukhina, the head of Verkhnitoemsky district. Of course, no, I'm against the forest conservation on this territory because the basic rated wood cutting is placed there, and there will be no working places for people who are living in the villages. Thus, they will be leaving the district. Alexander Chichulin, the head of Pinezhsky district. The result of the creation of this reserve on the territory that had been suggested earlier likely will be not so good for Pinersky district. We understand that now people are working on the timber cutting enterprises, so we understand that in case we create this reserve, these people are likely to become unemployment. And our businessmen who are bringing timber harvesting into action will suffer. Most of all, small business will suffer. All in all, the regional economy will be damaged. Alexei Taborov, the head of Vinogradovsky district. Now I can say for sure that it will be destroying for the economy of Vinogradovsky district to create such a reserve that would be 500,000 hectares. Natalia Bolshakova, the head of Holmogorsky district. I think that to create the Dvinsko-Pinersky reserve as it was planned before, I mean the scale and the borders, would be unpractical because it will influence our timber cutting enterprises functioning. We have such one, it's Dvinlesprom, which is functioning in Dvinskaya village. More than 110 people are working there. The creation of the reserve will affect the working places reduction. It will have an impact on the return of duties. This enterprise affects also the social sphere. This summer, the road was repaired due to this enterprise.
Alexander Vladimirovich, on the one hand, logging areas, this is occupation of the population, this is the fulfillment of some social functions by these enterprises, which harvest wood in these areas. But on the other hand, if we look at the figures, then the area of the wild taiga has significantly decreased in the last, let's say, 16 years. If in 2000 it was 1,110,000 hectares, then to present day it is about 800,000 hectares. Where is the compromise?
The compromise. We are now engaged in this, the search for a compromise, just with environmental organizations, in what area this reserve should be located. Of course, this is necessary to take this into account when creating any reserve. This is prescribed by the law of the Russian Federation: economic condition, ecological condition, and socio-economic status. That's why if environmentalists have done everything on the part of ecology, then from the social sphere, the economy issues are far from being solved.
And who must solve them?
We have to decide it together with environmental organizations. This is very difficult for us. While WWF is in a constructive dialogue with the authorities of the region, the representatives of Greenpeace, Forest Department, Mr. Yaroshenko, he leads an incomprehensible policy towards our region.
Many people say that if the reserve is, then the locals who inhabit these 4 districts will not be allowed to collect wild plants, fish in the reserve and so on. Is it so?
On the one hand, yes, on the other hand, no. This summer we have conducted survey of the local population of all these districts, if they want the reserve to be created. And we realized that if the residents of all these areas will be informed about the creation of the reserve, they will categorically oppose it. Besides the loss of their jobs, they also have a fear that they will not be allowed to work in the forest, pick berries, mushrooms and so on.
I propose we have recorded representatives of 2 environmental organizations. Let's listen to their opinion too.
Evgeny Schwartz, the representative of Worldwide Fund for Nature Department in Arkhangelsk. By creating this reserve, we will solve not only environmental problems, but also economical ones that exist in Arkhangelsk region. It will be possible if the titanium group of companies, the pulp and paper plant in Arkhangelsk and other companies maintain a stable system of timber exploitation. When we get to know that the residents are against the forest conservation, we understand that we are talking not about the majority of people, but about those of them who are living in the villages where timber cutting enterprises are working. The second moment we are worrying about is that people are not informed. As I know, people say that in the project of creating the reserve, it was mentioned that it would be not possible to visit this territory, to hunt and to get fish. But it wasn't even written in the project in reality. The thing that will really change after creating the reserve is that constant forest harvesting will be stopped. Alexei Yaroshenko, the director of the forest program Greenpeace. Of course, we are to create this reserve because the territory is valuable and it will be expanded with the course of time in the process of resources and forest depletion. If we refuse the idea of its creating, our environment will be damaged. Also, the forest-based sector of Arkhangelsk region will face many problems. If we are organizing forest management on this territory, there will be 3 times more working places than there are now. It can't be compared with losing some of the working places that can be caused by reserve creation.
How productive is the work with logging enterprises? If understanding, as far as I understand, the biggest part of the territory of the reserve, it has already been leased for harvesting.
At least 8 enterprises that work pay taxes, pay salaries. We have no complaints and the regional government has none as well. So we can terminate the contracts with them.
I propose to listen to 2 more opinions. This is the opinion of the regional government and the representative of the logging enterprise.
Yuri Trubin, the forestry manager in the Titanium group of companies. Without any doubt, the main thing here is economy. We are to organize our timber cutting enterprises stable functioning and providing our processing industrial complexes with resources. They are the pulp and paper plant in Arkhangelsk and the timber mill number 25. And all the economical and social factors will be taken in account in the process of negotiations. Especially since the state ecological expertise members decided that the negotiations between the locals, the local authorities and timber companies must be carried out. So the agreement about the reserve borders can be reached just in the process of negotiations. Anna Kopusova, the Deputy Minister for Natural Resources and Agro-Industrial Complex. Moreover, this year, in August, on the Championship Lesaruk Congress, we organized the meeting. We were speaking about the system of protected areas in the region. The representatives of timber companies, Greenpeace and Worldwide Fund for Nature were there. We agreed that we are to inspect the territory once again to get more exact results about the future reserve borders that would be accepted by everyone. We want this reserve would answer all the purposes it's creating for.
Alexander Vladimirovich, finishing the discussion of this question, as you have said, a new ecological examination will be held. What's next?
Today our committee asked the governor of Arkhangelsk region to review the boundaries of this reserve, to make a new environmental assessment. This is due to the fact that on one of the meetings that took place in Bonn, which was also initiated by Greenpeace, Greenpeace itself came up with a proposal to reduce the boundaries of the reserve from 500,000 to 350,000 hectares. And according to the regional government, the area of the reserve should be about 130,000 hectares. And any change of the borders requires a new environmental assessment.
Thank you very much. Let's sum up. Perspectives for the creation of the Dwina-Pinersky Reserve 16 years later remain vague. The topic concerns the interest of so many parties, so the most curious apparently is yet to come. With you was Alexei Shumakin and the program Parliamentarians. Goodbye.